This is an important hearing. We appreciate your being here very much. Looking forward to your testimony today and your willingness to serve and continuing this important dialogue. Before I go to my questions, I want to highlight several issues that I believe should be at the top of this committee's priority list as we look to reauthorize the FAA. Obviously, there's no doubt that both the Southwest and the NOTAM system failures have shown the need for a reliable air service ecosystem, both in the public and the private sector. But I must note that reliability of air service is an issue that my home state of Wyoming faces every day, whether there's a system outage or not. Factors such as a lack of pilots, high jet fuel prices, a consolidation of air carriers, and the upgauging of aircraft capacity have left many rural communities across the country at risk of losing their air service. So as we move into this FAA reauthorization, this committee must not lose sight of the main goal of our national aviation policy, creating a truly national network that safely connects all regions together. So I'm looking forward to the discussions today. Acting Administrator Nolan, it's my understanding that many in the aviation industry feel that NOTAM system does not provide useful information. I happened to be sitting on an airplane when NOTAM went down, and the pilot was trying to explain to us what NOTAM does. Often air crews are bombarded with information, some of which is critical, while others are repetitive or even irrelevant for the specific route the aircraft will be flying. As the FAA looks to recover from this outage and modernize the IT infrastructure, I'm curious to hear if the FAA has heard similar concerns and if there are plans to simultaneously modernize NOTAM so that it can better prioritize the information it is sending to air crews.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for the question. What I would say, so two things. Number one, the journey that we are on, and we're about halfway through it in terms of our modernization of the NOTAM system, is designed to do exactly what you are describing. And what the general concern is, how do we ensure that the NOTAMs delivered to pilots, being a pilot myself, are relevant, they're timely, they're prioritized, and they speak to the route of flight. Now, there are times when you might have to divert, so we can't always say they're irrelevant. You know, if you're deviating around a weather system, sometime that could take you hundreds of miles off your present course, and there might be a relevant NOTAM there. But we are moving. We've already got some functionality built into the system today, especially on the federal NOTAM system. And by the time we get to 2025, when we'll have everybody onto the federal NOTAM system, we'll continue to improve that. And following that, we will ultimately get to an ICAO standard. All of that takes time, of course, but we are working through it very purposefully.
So how would it work if it's a more localized issue? For example, I've been on planes in Wyoming where there were antelope on the runway or a coyote on the runway. So it only affects a few planes in a very localized area. Can NOTAM be calibrated to address those sort of very isolated individual issues?
Yeah, so maybe to speak a little bit about NOTAMs, right? So for your flight that you're on, departure, yes, you've got NOTAMs that are appended to the flight plan if you're on a commercial flight. But the other thing you do as a pilot is you would call for the ATIS, automatic terminal information service, which gives you weather, which gives you taxiway closures, which gives you other things relevant that may not be working in the moment. And the same thing for your route of flight, and the same thing for your destination airport. Pilots, you would call prior to top of the descent and say, what's happening at my airport? It may say it's in Bozeman, Montana, or it's in Jackson Hole, Wyoming, right? Those are the in-the-moment types of information, relevant information you would get from the airport itself. Our goal is to, again, to continue down this journey of streamlining the NOTAM system, making it ICAO compliant, and getting it to a point where it is indeed relevant to each route of flight.
So recently, you announced that upgrades to the NOTAM system would not be completed for almost a decade. And I assume it's because of the complexity of making the updates. But is there a way to expedite that timeframe?
Yes, that's one of the directions I've given my team is come back to me with what it would take, resources wise, for us to accelerate. We love to see if that's possible. Right now, substantially the bulk of the work will be done by FY25. I like to see if we can bring that forward, and then there are some other pieces that work into that.
Okay, one more quick question. I understand the FAA has taken steps to prevent another NOTAM malfunction, such as decoupling the system and requiring that two people be presented when performing work on the system or be present. Since the issue with NOTAM was caused by contractors accidentally deleting critical code, does the FAA plan to restrict access to the NOTAM system moving forward to FAA employees?
No, ma'am, we do not. So we have a NOTAM system that is overseen by the FAA and maintained by contractors. These folks are indeed the experts there. What I have ensured that we have is the level of oversight for our FAA team and that the requisite level of leadership that oversees that.
Thank you very much, Acting Director Nolan. We appreciate your being here. I yield to the gentleman from Georgia, Senator Warnock.